So good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Gavarecki, and today we're going to talk about a fun topic of licensing and permitting, record-keeping requirements. This will be the basics of what you need to operate your commercial vehicle, depending on the size. Okay. Just a reminder, everyone's mics will be muted. If you have any questions, there's a little chat box you can type in down there. Feel free, and I'll try to answer the questions the best I can at the end of the webinar. I'll try to get this done in about an hour. I did leave it up to about 11:30 just in case, because this is a very popular topic. So to get started, licensing, permits, and record-keeping requirements. Okay. So on the introduction, Hub Truck Rental Corp, we're providing this presentation to give and assist our customers with some guidelines as to what the requirements are needed for the permitting. Your licensing and record keeping, there's a lot of confusion out there. The biggest confusion that's been happening as of late was HUT decals expired after about 3 years, and a lot of people were caught off guard with that. So we're going to be discussing the New York State HUT, which is the Highway Use Tax, the International Fuel Tax Agreement, New York City CMVT, which we all refer to as the city tax stamp, IRP or apportioned plates, New York State OSCR, and US DOT number, apportioned plates as well. I don't know why I have it there twice. And the UCR, a lot of confusion over the UCR as well. So let's begin. What type of permits do I need? Well, it all depends on how big of a vehicle you have and where you travel. The GVWR of the vehicle and the geographical region which the motor vehicle will be operating. Hub, we initially set your company up with the necessary applications. The vehicle registration, New York City tax stamp will be under Hub's name. All trucks are registered under Hub's name. And all other permits are under the leaseholder's name or company name. It goes under the company's tax ID number. So there's a lot of confusion comes up. Unless it's specified or special arrangements are made, we don't pay taxes because we're not your company. So all taxes and the permits have to be under the company's name. So let's start with the smallest trucks. 10,000 pounds up to 18,000 pounds. These are your small box trucks, little delivery trucks. You must have a valid US DOT number, which the customer must provide. We assist with getting one if the customer does not have one. All trucks, as per the FMCSA regulations, all trucks 10,001 pounds or greater must have a US DOT number. New York State commercial plates, if it's based out of New York. In Jersey would be New Jersey plates. New York City motor vehicle tax stamp, that works where 50% or more of the vehicle's mileage is within New York City or the business is located within New York City. How the city tax stamp works, that coincides with the plate on the truck. So we take care of the city tax stamp. We're going to get into more of that in a little bit. Now we have trucks 18,001 pounds up to 26,000 pounds. So you'll notice there's an extra permit here. A valid US DOT number, as before. New York State commercial plates, as before. CMVT, tax stamp. And we're going to add the wonderful New York City, or New York State rather, Highway Use Tax decal, the HUT. We all refer to it as the HUT. Hub issues under the customer's business name. Customers must file according to the rules of the New York State Tax Authority. So how we set that up is generally we apply for a HUT permit. We don't get the decal right away. What happens is we issue a temporary TR8 form. It's a temporary certificate which gets carried with the insurance cards and the registration until the decal comes to your business in the mail. And then that decal gets affixed to the truck. And I've been seeing a lot of this recently. seeing a lot of hut decals placed on the wrong spot of the truck. They put it on the door. They put it a little too high. As per New York State, the decal should be closest to the license plate. If it's on the front, around the headlight area, that's okay as long as it's visible. But I've been seeing it on the side of the truck, and that's no good. There's a lot of confusion between that and an IFTA decal. So we'll get into that in a little while as well. Now we get into the big trucks, 26,000 pounds to 80,000 pounds. DOT number again, commercial plates or New York State apportion plates or New Jersey apportion plates, where your business is based out of. Hub provides depending on the extent of operation. Interstate, that's where that comes into play. Interstate equals crossing state lines. New York State Highway Use Tax Permit, as before, and the IFTA tax permit. Hub issues in customer's name. It's a little different. You have to get your own IFTA. We do the apportion plates, and then customers can get their own IFTA decal. It's not very difficult to do. It's called an IFTA 21 form. It's basically a form you fill out, send in the mail with the amount of IFTA decals that you need. And IFTA is also filed on a quarterly basis. And again, New York City tax stamp, CMVT. If required, Hub files, and we will then invoice you for the cost of the city tax stamp. So apportion plates or international registration plan. So this is how it works. So I'm going to do some reading here right off the page. So it's a cooperative agreement for registering a vehicle into 2 or more jurisdictions, which is states. The unique feature of the IRP is that license fees are paid to the base jurisdiction, your state, such in this state, we're in New York, and then distributed to the various states in which the vehicle is operated. Only one set of plates and one cab car are needed. This eliminates the need for trip permits when operating in other states compared to a truck that is registered with commercial plates. So say you have a truck that's over 26,000 pounds and it has commercial plates, and you're traveling from New York to Connecticut. Well, if you do not have a portion plate, you're required to get a Connecticut highway trip permit. And they're generally good for, I believe, a few days, which can be cumbersome if you're going to be doing multiple trips into other states. So most of the time you go with IRP if your truck is over 26,000 pounds and you need to travel interstate. So right here, this is New York State Highway Use Tax. So New York, we're lucky to be one of 4 states in the whole country that has their own highway use tax decal. A lot of people get confused with this and they get a little afraid. It's not difficult to do with the wonderful addition of online tax reporting and web filing. It's really not very difficult. The New York State Highway Use Tax is required for any truck, tractor, or other self-propelled vehicle with a gross weight in excess of 18,000 pounds. Now that is not the registered weight. That's the weight on the vehicle tag. This tax is imposed on motor carriers that operate New York State public highways, excluding toll-paid portions of the New York State Thruway. The tax is based on the mileage traveled and is computed at a rate determined by the weight of the vehicle. So there's different tax rates to however heavy the vehicle is. Let's get to the next page here. On the filing of a New York State Highway Use Tax. This can work one of 2 ways. It can either be a monthly filing, most people, or are quarterly filers. So if your preceding calendar year highway use tax totals is more than $4,000, you will be reclassified to a monthly filer. If your prior calendar year's total is $250 or less, you may request permission to file once a year. I found most of our customers are required to file every quarter. And you can do this right online. Click on the little link. See if get this working. I'll give you a little brief introduction. So it brings you right here, and then you can come and log in, username and password, and right there. Okay, basically that's how the best way to do it. Paper filing is is kind of the old school way of doing things. I just got a little brief there. Here's a sample report that I had pulled up. It's kind of hard to see. And again, after this, I can always bring this to your attention individually to show you how it's done. So basically up here, you have up in the left-hand corner, you have the permit or certificate number. So this is the number that is on the decal that's affixed to the truck. It'll have the weight of the truck and the unloaded weight as well. This is just a sample report, how many miles traveled, what the rate is. When you file online, you basically all you're putting in is how many miles you traveled. Okay, all the information is already there. You're putting in how many miles you traveled, click continue, and they do all the calculations for you. And then when you get to the return portion of the page, what the amount owed shows up clearly. Web filing is the easiest way. Now, there are some record-keeping requirements. Audits do happen. So there are some record-keeping requirements. You must keep all required records for each truck and tractor for which the HUT decal is required. You should keep all records used to calculate New York State highway use tax, such as driver trip reports or GPS trail. These records must substantiate your actual miles traveled. On the daily trip report, on the paper forms, the date of each trip, the point of origin and destination, total miles traveled in and out of New York State, and toll paid New York State Thruway miles. Now that with modern technology with GPS is the most common. I recommend everybody has GPS in their vehicles. Most GPS companies will give you a state mileage report from all the different units I've seen out there. That's generally the best way to do it. The only difference is they do not differentiate between throughway miles and non-throughway miles. But generally GPS, and that is accepted. If it does have a reporting, a GPS, electronic records are acceptable. And that seems the most common these days. And here we go for the record-keeping requirements. All records must be kept for at least 4 years and must be available for inspection at any reasonable time upon demand of the New York State Tax Department. The types of records that are being kept are driver trip reports, odometer or hub readings, or any similar readings, your bills of lading, invoices, driver's log. The driver has a log book and he didn't do a trip report, you can use that as well. But you really want a detailed of the roads traveled. GPS records is the most accurate. Most of them have an audit trail. You can go back in history and also do the state mileage report for that truck. That is generally the most accurate way of doing it. You can keep all this electronically as well. Whether you scan it and keep it in a folder, electronically is perfectly fine. Now, as far as the International Fuel Tax Agreement, this is on your bigger vehicles. The New York State is a participating member of the International Fuel Tax Agreement. It simplifies the reporting of fuel use taxes by allowing a motor carrier to report a single base jurisdiction. So in this case, it's New York, and all the fuel tax that it owes to various other states. The carrier needs only one single IFTA license for all of its qualified motor vehicles. So that's the biggest differentiator. Once you have an IFTA license, whether you have one truck or 100 trucks, you only need one IFTA license. Okay, whereas on the HUT, each truck has its own decal number. So that's a little bit different there. Remember, each truck has to have two, one on each door, and decals do expire every year. So a little bit more into the qualified motor carriers. If the vehicle has two axles, at least two axles, and a gross weight exceeding 26,000 pounds. The vehicle has 3 or more axles, regardless of weight, which is your tractors, and the vehicle is using a combination, and the gross weight of the combination is over 26,000 pounds. So it would be like a straight truck and a trailer. That's a combination vehicle. Tractor, trailer, that's what they refer to as a combination vehicle. I pulled a sample of how IFTA works. And this is off one of our reporting systems that we use. So on this one particular customer, all of his vehicles, it won't show specifically how many vehicles. It just shows all the total miles all the vehicles ran. So in this case, you have Connecticut, Delaware, Massachusetts, the whole Northeast. It shows you basically how many miles were ran in each state, how many taxable miles. Now, if you notice, the miles and the taxable miles is pretty much the same, or fairly close, okay? Then you go to where the fuel is purchased. You notice there was no fuel purchase in the first 3 states. New Jersey is where this customer is based out of, 11,000 gallons. All right, that's what they purchased. Some, very little in New York, and the total fuel purchased. And then there's a difference in fuel, okay, and then the various tax rates. Taxes due, so you'll see where in Connecticut, for instance, they didn't purchase any fuel, so none of the fuel tax that they've already paid reduced their tax liability. So that's what the fee is. But if you scroll down to New Jersey, where most of their fuel was purchased, they have a credit of $810 because that's tax that was already paid on the fuel. And New Jersey, very little fuel, so it didn't really offset the taxes, and so on. So basically how that works, you're able to web file this on the New York State Department of Taxation website also. So they calculate everything for you. The various tax rates are already calculated on the website. You don't have to actually look up and put in the tax rates. Everything is already figured out for you. The main thing you have to put in there is your fuel and your mileage, but make sure you keep your fuel receipts. It has to be recorded fuel. Here's another example of the IFTA 101 form. This is the worksheet portion. And basically this is, I just took a few trucks, and there's no fuel. If you notice, there's no fuel purchased on here. So nothing offset the taxes that are owed for driving in through Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey. All right, so there's no fuel added, if you see, and then that would be the total tax that they owe. This was a large fleet, and this was for a quarterly filing. So you definitely want to keep those fuel receipts because it does offset the taxes that you have to pay for IFTA vehicles. Now we're going to get into the IFTA reporting requirements. The filing of the IFTA tax is quarterly. Most carriers are required to file electronically. And like I said, you go into the New York State Department of Taxation website. One good thing about New York, being that they like their money so much, they're making it very easy for you to pay them. So you have to create an online services account before you can e-file. And right here is basically the schedule for reporting. All right. So January through March is due on April 30th, and so on. April through June, the end of July 31st, and so on. So this is a handy calendar. I'm not too good with quarterly. I always have to be reminded, and I always have a reminder on my desk. So for the IFTA record-keeping requirements, it's very similar to the highway use tax. So you basically want starting, ending of each trip, point of origin and destination, the roads traveled, odometer start and finish, miles traveled in each state, your vehicle ID number, driver signature, and GPS records are acceptable. And that's pretty much to be the normal now, is GPS. So right here I have a standard trip report, and you'll see here, for those of you not familiar, the date, state, highways used, odometer reading. It also tells you if it's toll or non-toll. So let's say he's going from here, he's going upstate New York, he's running the thruway, how many miles, loaded or empty, trip permit if there is one, and trip cities, gallons of fuel if purchased, and also the vendor, and invoice number if there is one. So they have all this driver. This most common, like I said, GPS is really taking over on this, and it is acceptable. So trip reports is the standard way of doing it. Are they always accurate? It's hard to say. That's why I recommend GPS. It's a really good technical feature, making everybody's life a little easier. Speaking of GPS, onboard recording devices, vehicle tracking systems, or electronic data recording systems may be used in lieu or in addition to handwritten trip reports for tax reporting. Just make sure that it meets the requirements of the IFTA procedures. I've also have this, you can look it up online here. It brings you right to the website. As far as the mileage requirements, pretty much the same as highway use tax. Odometer, fuel consumption records, map mileage from the point to final destination, records of mileage for billing purposes, and the GPS trail. So here's a sample of what you have to keep. It all comes down to keeping the fuel receipt. If you do, a lot of customers have a fuel card. If you have invoices that, for your billing purposes, you can keep those as well. That's also proof of purchase. So fuel receipts, invoicing, you can all keep that as well. The date of purchase, name and address of seller, name of purchaser, and the invoices. You can keep both. What I used to do, I used to match up my fuel receipts to my invoices every month and keep them in a file. Then as technology progressed, I used to scan everything in a dedicated folder for fuel mileage. So it does come in handy with electronics instead of keeping all the paper. Well, once it's held electronically, you don't have to necessarily keep the paper. Electronic forms is fine. Scanning and putting it in a nice folder to organize everything, it's a lot easier to do these days. So that is acceptable. And the record retention, it's 4 years, same as highway use tax, from the due date of the filing date, whichever is later. Any required record may be retained in either hard copy or, like I said, electronic format. It's to your discretion. Most people are going in the way of scanning and keeping it in a folder. So here's where we recently ran into a lot of confusion because the HUT decals expired at the end of December. The old ones were purple. They were, I believe, 3 years old, and now they're orange. And some people got caught off guard. I'm still seeing a lot of purple HUT stickers on the trucks out there. Hopefully none. Just as I'm driving around seeing customers, I look at any trucks, and I'm still seeing a lot of purple stickers. They will be giving a summons, and they're very easy to spot. I've been seeing a lot of tickets issued out there. While we will initially set you up for your New York State HUT, it will be up to the motor carrier customer to maintain. And there's also a website called OSCR. Stands for One Stop Credentialing and Registration. This is where you can get all your HUT stickers and all of your IFTA stickers once you already have the license set up. It's a pretty easy website to use. Generally, when you log on, you're giving a numerical password, and you create your own username. So I definitely recommend everybody use the OSCR program. It makes life so much easier. I'll click to it now and bring it up. Basically, it allows you to obtain HUT certificates, duplicate HUT certificates, revise, cancel, add a vehicle to the IRP fleet, transfer license plates, which you don't have to do. But as far as all your certificates and decals go, OSCR is a very useful tool. And here's a little close-up version of it. You would put in your DOT number, New York State tax ID number, and password. The password's issued to you. You can't make up your own. You have to actually enroll, where it clicks enroll now. They ask you for your DOT, New York State tax ID. Now here's the thing, you have to make sure you're up to date with any outstanding taxes, because what happens, they'll lock your account. They won't let you get any more IFTA decals or highway use tax decals. So that definitely has to be cleared. Anything that's outstanding or paid late, you have to clear it up. If that's the case, generally you do get a message in red letters right across the OSCR screen telling you that either to contact the state or there'll be another message. I really get as much information as you can provided to the state emails. Besides regular letters, emailing is the best way. This way you're reminded. But here's what I've been finding. is up until, I believe, 2013, New York State used to send you a statement for the highway use tax every quarter or every month, depending on what kind of filer they were. They stopped that, and it was up to the carrier to know when they had to file. And there was a lot of people not filing because they never got that letter in the mail. So it's really good practice to have a steady schedule of when you have to pay your highway use tax. Now we're going to get into the CMVT, the commercial motor vehicle tax. Who has to pay? So non-passenger commercial motor vehicles used mostly in the city of New York, that includes the 5 boroughs, with 50% or more of its mileage during the year if it's within the city, or mainly a connection of a business within the city, then you have to pay the tax. It's a little decal that goes on the lower right-hand side of your windshield, and it expires every year, and I believe around June. So if you have a truck, you're in the city, it's another tax. And here's the breakdown of the schedule, because it goes by the vehicle weight. From 10,000 to 12,500, 40, 12,501 to 15,000, it's 200. Most of the trucks out there, 15,000 pounds or more, it's $300 a year. We're going to get into the US DOT number. Years ago, not everybody needed one. Pretty much everybody that has a commercial motor vehicle and is over 10,000 pounds needs one now. This number is the established in the lessee's name and must be currently active. So what I mean by active, every 2 years, everybody's DOT number has to be updated, and that can be accomplished online. I usually assist with that if a customer is not sure. If the customer's DOT number is not updated at least every 2 years, some have to do it every year. What can happen is they'll deactivate a US DOT number, and it'll show up in the DOT database called SAFER and say inactive DOT, which can result in a fine and violation and or both. So you want to make sure your DOT number stays active. On the UCR agreement, this happens at the end of every year. This is an annual tax. It's unified. It's called the Unified Carrier Registration. And I've been to a lot of trucking meetings, and there are people in the trucking business for years, and they still don't know what it is. Basically, it's another tax. Who is required to file it? Well, it requires individuals and companies that operate commercial motor vehicles over 10,000 pounds who operate interstate or international commerce to register with their business with the UCR. Now, the key word is interstate. So if you're a truck and you're only staying in New York, you never leave New York area, and that includes not going into Jersey, because New Jersey is another state. A lot of people get confused. Interstate basically requires you to file your UCR. So that's how it works. Intrastate is not required. There are a lot of companies out there scaring people at the end of the year. Make sure you file your UCR, big fines. If your DOT number is listed as intrastate, you do not have to file the UCR. I'd say most of the people out there are interstate, especially in this geographical area. We all have to cross the state lines to get our commerce out. But if you're an intrastate carrier, you do not have to file. If you're an interstate, which most people are these days, you are required to file. Generally, it's the end of every year, around December time. And you can do that online as well. I believe I have the website up here. And the UCR, how much is it? If you have 0 to 2, it gradually gets higher. 70 starts at 76, 3 to 5, 227, 6 to 20, 452, and up down the line. If you have over 1,000 trucks, it's $73,000. But generally, we've been seeing, a lot of people not realizing if they have to pay the UCR, they get something in the mail, or one of their trucks gets pulled over. A big common thing that's been happening is when a carrier is first set up, they get one truck, and then they they grow a little bit, they get another truck, and then they can start going into other states. Well, they never filed the UCR. What happens is, say the driver is in the state of Connecticut, and they're an intrastate carrier. Well, now, even though their DOT number says intrastate, because they cross the state lines, the officials will consider them as interstate. So now, then they'll get a fine for failing to pay a UCR agreement. So it gets a little tricky. You basically, I did not put a link up here, but if you just go to UCR.gov, you can pay it online. Now, here's the thing with UCR: you do not get a decal, you do not get a license. How it's enforced is when your truck is pulled over, they look up your DOT number. There's a national database that all law enforcement officials have, and they can look into that to see if your UCR has been paid. Remember, it has to be paid every year. Let's see. This is something we added in here because there were some laws and a lot of confusion of how trucks are registered, especially very heavy trucks. This may not apply to all of you, but if it does, just keep this in mind. Infrastructure-friendly vehicles. This is a requirement for all trucks equipped with lift axles that are applying for a divisible load, or we call it an overweight permit for trucks 2006 or newer, and they must meet the following requirements. Just keep in mind that all lift axles must be steerable or trackable, mechanically controlled or self-steering. And any of the pressure control for the lift axles must be located outside of the cab of the power unit and beyond the reach of the occupants of the cab while the vehicle is in motion. This only applies for air pressure, the air pressure regulator, and not the up and down control lift axle. This is for heavy trucks that have a steerable lift axle. I just figured I'd put this in there because this does fall into the permitting section. So just keep that in mind. IFV, so all axles other than steerable or trackable, they have to be equipped with at least 2 tires on each side of the axle. We refer to some of it. Super singles are only allowed on the steering axle. Super singles are those big, huge, wide tires. They're only allowed on the steering axle, not on the drive axles. All vehicles that should be constructed to handle the uniform load distribution within the tandem, tridem, quad axle. I know I'm saying these words. A lot of people may not know what it is. I'm going to throw all this in there as well. But here's what we've been seeing when it comes to multi-axle trucks that lift up and down. Tolls that will be levied on these axles, whether they're up or down, it doesn't matter if they're touching the ground or not, they will be levied on those axles. Okay, so just keep that in mind. We're going to get into now the federal bridge formula. And this has been coming into play a lot more recently. People are getting into bigger and bigger trucks. This isn't necessarily for tractors. The bridge formula really only comes into play for straight trucks. And we have we have a customer, they want to have a truck that handles so much weight. We can build a truck that, say, handles 70,000 pounds. But there is a bridge formula that comes into play. So if the truck is built to handle 70,000 pounds, depending on a bridge formula, that's how the vehicle is registered by New York State. So the most common, if it's built to handle 70,000 pounds, most trucks, single unit trucks on the bridge formula will fall in at around 54, 56, 57,000 pounds. So on your bigger vehicles and the straight trucks, that's where that comes into play. So you just want to keep that in mind. If you're looking to get a bigger truck, even though the truck is built to handle 70 or 72,000 pounds, 68,000 pounds, that's not necessarily what New York will register it as. You can get an overweight permit to handle more weight, legal weight. So I just want to make people aware of that. This has been coming up more and more often because a lot of people want the big, heavy, straight trucks. I'm talking 60, 70,000 pounds, heavy flatbeds. You got to keep in mind that New York State will not necessarily, they more than likely will not register to what the truck is built for. They have their own bridge formula. And we have a chart. And by the way, I have all this information, and if you need these things, and if you want a copy of this presentation, feel free and I'll email it to you. We have a bridge formula chart here, and there's also an app for that. There's an app for the bridge formula. Basically, you would go in, the distance between axles, whether it be inches or feet, the number of axles, you hit calculate, it'll let you know what the legal weight, registered weight will be of that vehicle. Here's the most important part. There's all these links that I have here. This is why I recommend, if you want a copy of this, feel free. Let's see, we have the New York State Department of Taxation. We have Oscar. Of course, we got Hub Customers Logon site. I really recommend using the website. I've been giving free rein to add things to our website. Put nice little pictures up there. I put a lot of informative information, driver related, carrier related, new regulations that are coming down the pike. I put a lot of different things up there to keep everybody aware of what's going on, because that's what my job is. I have to understand the ever-changing regulations, and I'm really trying to make, you come in every morning before you start your day, go on to hubtruck.com and use that website for sending in truck mileage. If you don't have a login now, feel free to call Hub. We'll set you up with one. It's a really, really useful tool, and I'm really trying to get more interactive with it. Actually, maybe I'll bring it up in a moment. As I said previously, there's a US DOT MCS 150 update site. See if I can click on here. This is what I was talking about before for updating your DOT number. This is the screen where you can update everything. Basically, if you have to update your US DOT number, you just use the options. You click on the little option here and click continue. Just keep in mind, though, that you do need a PIN number to update your DOT number. The PIN number was issued to you by the FMCSA when you originally obtained your DOT number. If you do not have one, there is another link for an online PIN reset. Just keep in mind that when you either or, if you have to get a new PIN and then you want to update, you'll need your company's tax ID number. You'll need also a credit card. They do not charge the credit card. They only use that for identification purposes. So just keep that in mind as well. Here's the link for the UCR. For the UCR agreement. Let's see if this gets up there. I have some issues with this website. They update it and then it works great on Google Chrome, but the best way to use it is I found on Windows Explorer. You can see if your company has paid their UCR by basically, you click on start with UCR registration, and that's a little warning thing that will come up, and then view or print your unified carrier registration information. And what happens is you end up either putting in your DOT number, click next, and it'll let you know if it's been paid. So for instance, this is all public information. Everybody can access this. So if I put in Hubs, because we're a leasing company, we only have to pay the one fee. And you can tell your whole company's history right up there. So feel free to use this. If you have an interstate, if you're an interstate carrier and you're not sure if your UCR has been paid, feel free to use the website to help you out. Let's get back to this one. So basically, in conclusion, providing truck solutions is Hub's business. If a solution is needed on the truck, on the road, in the shop, or in the office, we're here to help you. I'm trying to put together more of these presentations and do webinars. Seems like the best way. It's working, but I do like to see people in person as well. Springtime is here. The weather may not be, but it is springtime. I'll be having more drivers meetings. I usually refer to them as Coffee with Chris. May sound kind of corny, but it does work. Gets to meet the drivers. They can vent a little bit what they're dealing with on the road, but what I'm seeing from a wide variety of customers. So there is a lot of questions out there, especially from drivers. And I do like to see them the most because they're the people that are seeing your customers every day. Anybody have any questions? I'm going to open up the chat box on my side here. Let's see, I'm going through. Good stuff. Anybody have any questions? Type it away. Sure. Like I said, I'll have a list of everybody who attended this, and I can send you a copy in a PDF form. And like I said, I have every link you can think of to get to every DOT taxing and permitting problem that you have. So feel free to ask. And I will probably send this out to everybody anyway. I do have a list of all the attendees that are attending. But I'll give it another few minutes if anybody has any questions. Let's see here. Okay, somebody had a question where if they're an intrastate carrier and they change over to interstate, what does that entail? So that's a pretty good question. Generally, what'll happen is one of two things. If you're a non-CDL operation, you may get a letter in the mail for a new entrant audit because now that you're an interstate carrier, you're with its federal authority. Intrastate is New York authority, but New York pretty much follows everything the federal government does. So you want to keep that in mind. But once you become an interstate, it's just a matter of changing it on your MCS 150. You may get a new entrant audit letter. If that happens, don't worry. It's usually not that big of a deal. We're New York, we're one of the few states that the DOT allows you to use a portal. So they'll maybe ask you for a copy of the last inspection of the truck, a copy of your driver's license, and a motor vehicle report for that driver, things of that where you can just scan and upload to a portal. But if you just want to change from an intrastate to an inter, it's basically, as the website I was on before, it's called the MCS 150. And it's just, you just click it and continue and you're on your way. Then you'll be considered an interstate carrier. So. Another question that came up was on the HUT decals. On the current, right now they're called the 22nd series. They're good. They're saying they're good, and I believe it's 2019. Generally, that's what I'm hearing now. 2019. They're saying 3 years. State could change their mind. They are notifying everybody that is a highway use tax client or a customer when they're going to expire. On the previous batch, they started sending these things, I believe, end of last spring. The state started sending letters that they have to renew their HUT permits before the end of 2015. So they have been sending letters, and they've been sending more than one. So that's definitely something you want to keep in mind. But if you have a new HUT decal, you won't have to replace it for at least 2019. That's what they're saying as of now anyway. You also want to keep in mind is have your drivers always, that's part of the pre-trip inspection, but it's kind of hard to, they're not tax experts. So they don't know when a HUT decal is going to expire or not, because there's no clear, like a registration where there's a clear expiration date. But the old ones are purple, the new ones are orange. So just keep that in mind. It's something they should look out for. If they have a truck that's over 18,000 pounds, it's something for them to look at as well. And I always pass this on to the drivers that I've been meeting on a daily basis. Keep an eye on your truck's HUT sticker. If you know, especially in January, I was telling them, just keep your eyes open. If it's purple, you have to get a new one. All right, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. It's definitely part of the pre-trip. We can't expect them to be tax experts. They're drivers, registration, insurance card. Make sure that's up to date. That is part of the pre-trip inspection. That's another webinar. And somebody had asked me about if they can't make webinars, one had to cancel out. I record all of these, and if you go on the Hub website, well, I'll bring that up. I have all of our videos. Once you log on with your own username, you can access all these pre-recorded webinars. And there's also a pre-trip video that I did. So just keep that in mind. The Hub Truck website works, trying to get it to work well. I'm putting more and more, things up there every day. Injury prevention, this webinar. We're going to be moving. Just keep in mind for all your Jersey companies. We're going to be moving from Linden, New Jersey to our new larger facility in Newark, and that's going to be happening within the next few days. So I'll keep you updated on that as well. So anything New York State Highway Use Tax update, I provide all the links. Just keep that in mind as well. I think I have all the questions. Let me just check here. I'm just reading a question. Bear with me. That I'll answer another time. I'll call that in private. But I think that is all as far as yep, I think I got all the questions. So there is, I'll leave this open for about another minute or so. Did I miss one? All right, so I think we'll leave it at that. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. Monday through Friday, I'm here. Feel free to email me. And this is what I try to do. I try to help everybody out. And I do meet our customers on a one-to-one basis as well. So thank you, everybody, for attending. And I will be sending copies to everyone. This way they can have everything they have here. Okay? So everyone enjoy their day, and thank you again for attending.